Hello, this is Darren Magee and welcome to my mental health information and awareness channel. Today's topic is on shame, or more specifically, it is on toxic shame. Now, when it comes to shame, we can all feel embarrassment over something. We can regret a choice, a decision. We generally recover. We don't feel crushed. We can also feel shame over having been in a situation, having been in an environment, over something that happened to us. We can feel embarrassed, humiliated. I'm ashamed of myself that I put myself in that position. I didn't assert myself. I didn't prevent it. It was all my fault. I was in the wrong and so on. But again, we can learn from that. We can grow from that. But what is it happens when shame becomes toxic? Well, first of all, what is shame? Well, Carl Jung described shame as a soul-eating emotion. And indeed, it can be very corrosive if it's unregulated. Now, first of all, shame is different from guilt. Sometimes we confuse the two, but they're different things. So if you look at it this way, guilt is what I feel when I think about the consequences of something I've done. Shame is what I feel when you are thinking about the consequences of what I've done. If someone is continually pointing out those consequences, continually dragging them up, continually finding more and more things wrong with us or whatever, that shame starts to become long term. It starts to become ingrained. It starts to become toxic. And it stops being when you're thinking about what I've done. It starts to become shame is what I feel when I think about what I am. Or rather, what I'm led to believe I am. Now, when we feel shame, as uncomfortable, as unpleasant as that feeling is, shame can help us regulate our behaviour. We are not going to do that again. We are not going to be in that position again. When shame becomes toxic, it becomes something else. It becomes a lot about avoidance. Avoiding anything that might be considered difficult, a strain, any prospect at all of us being judged or criticised harshly or seen in an unflattering way. Toxic shame can lead to self-sabotaging behaviours. People set themselves up to fail. The belief being it's easier to fail than succeed, and it's pretty much what I deserve anyway. It can lead to addiction. How do I anesthetize this? How do I escape this bad feeling for another one? It can lead to low assertiveness, difficulty communicating, reinforcing boundaries. Stops us regulating how we feel. Toxic shame has people judging themselves very harshly, that there is something wrong with them. They start to feel ashamed for feeling shame. They feel bad for feeling bad. Toxic shame can stop someone allowing another person to get close to them. They fear getting close to others as well. Sometimes the fear is, what if you see me the way I see me? Toxic shame also has people believing that they are unworthy. They don't deserve happiness, success, respect. Nothing they ever do is good enough. They are not good enough. They don't have enough. They can't do enough. They hate things about themselves. Now, there's things about ourselves we would all like to change, and sometimes we can change them. Toxic shame has us focus on that, and they keep doing the same things over and over again, even though they hate those behaviours and those characteristics. It can lead people to compare themselves unfavourably to others. Everybody else has it together. Everybody else can do this brilliantly. I'll never learn. I'm unlovable. I'm useless. I'm a failure, etc., etc. And it can have people believing anything bad that has ever happened to them, anything that was ever done to them, was all their fault because of who they are, what they are. They don't deserve any better. When shame becomes toxic, it becomes our own self-disgust, our own abhorrence. I really don't like who I am. I really don't like what I am. And that shame brings with it an anxiety, a fear. What if I fail? What if I succeed? What if I'm rejected? What if no one likes me? What if I make a mistake? What if I don't do it the way somebody wants me to do it? It can lead people to avoid situations, avoid social situations, Again, what if these people see me the way I see me? What if they point out all the things about me that I am doing wrong? That toxicity magnifies everything, because people experiencing toxic shame tend to have unrealistic appraisals of themselves, their abilities, their qualities. They have unrealistic expectations that they are responsible for everything and everyone around them. They must not fail. They must not make mistakes. But again, they must not do too well either, because what if someone doesn't like that? What if someone accuses them being big-headed or whatever? A moment's embarrassment can be crushing. So where does it come from? Where does toxic shame come from? Well, I think we could be here all day talking about different things. So again, I'm going to be very general. For example, in childhood, if there was constant neglect, abuse, criticism from a parent, so even an emotionally unavailable or distant parent, difficult school environment, perhaps there was bullying, they were laughed at, so someone's been laughed at, they've been rejected, they've been made fun of for not standing up for themselves or whatever. Even as an adult, being in a long-term toxic situation, relationship as an adult, in some environment where someone is constantly telling another person how crap they are, how defective they are, how responsible they are for everybody else's misery. Someone on the wrong end of that can develop a sense of inadequacy, a sense of unworthiness and alienation. In situations and environments like that, someone can be led to believe that it's wrong to ask for help. It's wrong to have needs. It's wrong to have boundaries. To ask for help is a bad thing. It's a wrong thing. So they start to become self-reliant. Asking for help would create even more shame. There must be something wrong with me because I can't handle this. There must be something wrong with me because I'm not doing this right. I must be able to manage this better. So how do we overcome toxic shame? How do you begin that healing process? Well, given what I do for a living, speaking to a mental health professional, a therapist, a counselor, whatever, it's a good place to start. Recognizing you need help is a good, healthy place to start. It is not a sign of weakness, regardless of what you've been led to believe. It's a good, healthy place to be. It's actually a sign of strength. And when we recognize, all decisions have a consequence, good or bad, or neither, indifferent. Make balanced, informed decisions, perhaps based on your own interests. In something like counselling and therapy, we can we can look at how we separate the feelings from thoughts and beliefs. It's not necessarily true just because you think it, just because you feel it, just because you believe it. It's not necessarily true. It's certainly not necessarily true just because someone else says it. So I think that whenever we learn to recognize that those who've been constantly criticizing and judging, more often than not, all they're ever doing is projecting their own crap onto you. They're avoiding facing up to their own shame, their own embarrassment, their own dysfunctional upbringing or whatever, their own traumas. And a lot of the times, with toxic people, what they're actually doing is they're feeding off your failure, they're feeding off your distress just to avoid their own. Like, even when we have done something we strongly regret, something we so wish we could rewrite the past if we could go back and change it, we'd do it in a heartbeat. If you have to, forgive yourself. Forgiveness doesn't mean something didn't happen. It doesn't mean you've forgotten about it. All it means is you will learn from it. All it means is you're not going to allow that to happen again. All it means is you're not going to be consumed by it any longer. That's what it is when we start to allow the shame to regulate our behaviour. Regulate it in a healthy way, not an avoid and get me out of this kind of way. Because do you ever notice, the curious thing is, the very things that we do to try and avoid an uncomfortable feeling or situation are often the very things that exacerbate it, make it worse, keep it going. And when we're forgiving ourselves or letting go of something, we're recognizing the past does not dictate the present, nor the future. It informs it, that's all. And recognizing we don't know everything, we can't do everything. The most champion athlete in the world, gold medal after gold medal. Might not be able to boil a kettle. We can't do everything, nor can we do it perfectly. And when it comes to recovery, and when it comes to healing, remember that toxicity, that shame didn't necessarily happen overnight. It was a process. Recovery and healing, building on what works, learning from what doesn't, that is a process as well. A step at a time. So like I said, when talking about shame, toxic shame, I'm being very general. So if there's something I've forgotten about, or indeed if there's something you'd like me to cover in future topics, please mention in the box below. Please subscribe to my channel for future updates on mental health information and awareness topics. Until next time, thanks for watching.